Next, let us look at the various types of assessment. Now, if you look at all these different types that are listed on this page, you can see that the types are decided on the basis of the reason for which you are doing the assessment. For example, you can do diagnostic assessments, which are done at the beginning of the teaching learning process, because you want to know what the students have already learned and what are their strengths and weaknesses. For example, before you start the classes for grade 4, you want to understand whether students have learned whatever was taught in grade 3, right? And if required, you can do some refreshers or you can do some orientation sessions. Therefore, diagnostic is done at the beginning of the teaching and learning process because you want to understand what the students already know. Or assessment can be formative in nature as well, because if you are conducting these assessments during the teaching learning process, you are using these assessments also as a means to form the knowledge of the learners or the students. For example, by conducting activities like projects or by group discussions or by calling students to explain something on the board. One, you are trying to understand whether the students have understood the lesson, right? And you are also trying to get the students involved in the teaching learning process. So that is formative. It can also be summative. Like I said, even evaluation, even the tests that are conducted can also be part of the assessment process. And if you are conducting these tests at the end of a specific time period, it can be a weekly test or a monthly test or a midterm or an annual exam, right? You are summarizing the learning of the students. So here students get to know what they have learned or what they have not learned. So they are going to get some rank or percentage or grade. And teachers can get some feedback, because teachers can use the feedback that they have got from the performance of the students and improve the teaching and learning process for the next batch or the next year. But students usually get just a rank or a score from these summative assessments and they don't get any useful feedback. Next, assessment can be norm referenced as well. That is, if you are comparing the students against other students. For example, if you are looking at an entrance exam, then you want to give a chance for the top 100 students or the top 300 students to get into a particular institution or to get into a particular course. So you are comparing the students against a norm, or you are comparing the students against other students, and that is norm referenced. Then there is criterion referenced. Criterion referenced can be like CTET, where you are comparing students against a specific standard. You are not bothered about how many students pass that particular standard or how many students meet that particular standard. For example, in CTET, you are saying that there is a specific pass mark. 60% is the pass mark. Right? So now it might be that only 10% of the students meet that standard, or it might be that 80% of the students meet that standard. But if the standard is set at 60%, that is the criteria or the criterion against which you are comparing all the students. So that is criterion referenced. And then there can be interim assessment. That is, if you are doing the assessment in the middle of the teaching learning process at various intervals, right, to understand the progress of the teaching or the learning process. Right? So that is interim assessment. Therefore, if you look at these different types of assessment, they are all based on for what purpose you are doing the assessment. So pause this video here and read all these points once or twice. If required, rewind and listen to the explanation once more so that you understand all these different types of assessment, because you will see questions based on these different types of assessments.